Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Welcome to the Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Playle, and this week I'm joined by Tom Segal. Mark Scully is next to me on the sofa, and of course we have Paul Binfield from Paddy Power on the line as well. We're very excited in the run-up to York. The first 3 days of the festival we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at some of the teams' weekend eye-catchers, and there's also another chance to win a £25 free bet from our sponsors, Paddy Power. Right, we're going to crack straight on with the action. We're going to talk about Wednesday at York. The Juddmonte International looks an absolute cracker. Barney Roy and Ulysses renew their Eclipse rivalry. We've got Churchill in there. We've got Shutter Speed. We've got Cliffs of Moher. Binners, hello. Welcome back. And can we get some prices on this Juddmonte International, please?
Hello, Maddie. What a race. 5-2 Barney Roy, 11-4 the Dual Guineas hero Churchill, 3 Ulysses, 6 Cliffs of Moher, 8 Shutter Speed, and it's 16 bar.
Fantastic. Absolutely love that. Mark, we'll go to you first. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's brilliant, isn't it? When I was on here in March and I was talking about this as being one of the races of the summer. Back then I was thinking in terms of minding Almanzor, Jacobs, those sorts of horses, and we've got none of them, and we've still somehow managed to find our way to having an absolutely fantastic renewal of the race. I think Barney Roy is probably the right favourite. He probably will be suited by the track, I think, and looks to be he's progressed so well so far this year, and there's no reason to think the second half of the year is not going to be more of the same. But Binners, did you say 6 Cliffs of Moher there? Was that right? 6
Cliffs of Moher, Mark.
I'm struck by that because he sent off 7-4 favourites at Sandown for the Coral Eclipse, and I don't think anybody would say that things panned out in a way that he was able to show his best that day. Why now should he be such a that was Barney Roy was in there, Ulysses was in there, and he was 7-4 favourites at Sandown. So I'm not really seeing what the difference is and why he should be as big as 6-1 there. So
funny you say that, because I actually said that similar to Tom before we went on air about Cliffs of Moher and how you're totally right. I mean, there was all that interference. It was quite a slow pace. It was a messy race. Yes, Barney Roy impressed, but I said maybe this race is more open than we're giving it credit for.
Yeah.
Tom, is it Barney Roy all the way for you? Simple as? Are you going to ignore me and Mark?
I'll probably ignore you and Mark, Maddie, as always. Yeah, but no, it's not. It's a brilliant race, isn't it? As you quite rightly right. I don't think it's Barney Roy all the way by any means. I don't fancy Cliffs of Moher myself. I personally thought, I don't know, I just didn't really like him at Epsom or at Sandown, really. I don't like horses that do things wrong, and he seems to do quite a bit wrong, or he seems to have had things go against him. Now, maybe that's
do you think he finds trouble and he can't overcome
No,
it?
I don't know that, but it's just, if he's a wonder horses tend to, if really good horses, and it'll take a really good horse to win this race, tend to find their way out of trouble. He times to find his way into it. Now, I get that's why he's 6-1. I get the argument for him being value in terms of price. In terms of being a brilliant horse, I don't think he is. I think the 3 at the top of the market are better than him. Churchill, Barney Roy and Ulysses. Problem is, so do the bookmakers, and they're all about the same price. I think it's 2-1, 9-4, and 3-1, or something, as Paul just said. 2-1, 11-4, 3, whatever Paul just said. They're all about the same price. I don't know which one's going to win. If I had to have a bet, or if I'm sitting here saying which one do I prefer, it's Barney Roy. But I'm a massive Ulysses fan, and Churchill was the second coming at the start of the season. If you take Ascot out, he'd be odds-on favourite for this.
I love Barney Roy because I just think he pulled so hard in that Eclipse, and the amount he managed to find. And
do you think that might be the problem, Maddie? Do you think? I mean, where's the pace here? We got 7 runners. Decorated Night, I suppose, will go on a bit. I should be asking you this.
Yeah, it's a good point.
There's no pace whatsoever here. I'm staggered they haven't put a pacemaker in for Barney Roy. I think he's crying out for a strongly run race where he can get. I don't think any race so far he's got into top gear. In the Guineas, in the Newbury race at the start of the season, in the St James's Palace and at Sandown, all he was doing was he seemed to just be getting going at the end of all his races. So if they go slow here at York, which is a notoriously hard track to make up ground on fast ground, if it's soft ground, it's a different kettle of fish, but on fast ground, and at the moment, I think it's good to firmish. I think it'll be hard for him if they go slow.
Maybe Cliffs of Moher will go on. If you're taking Churchill as their number 1.
Maybe, but O'Brien's, the Ballydoyle pacemaking thing is a law unto itself as far as I can see. Sometimes they go fast when you expect them to go slow, and sometimes they go slow when they expect them to go fast. I don't know what they're going to do, and I don't think anyone does, but it's possible. It's very possible.
It is possible. I'm going to drop in a Twitter question now from Nick Palfrey. I absolutely love this. I'm going to aim it mostly at Mark because I know he's been out to Oz. Where would Winks finish in the Juddmonte International? Obviously, she was breathtaking the other day, only managing just to get up on the line. That was over 7, I think, but she's run over such a variety of trips. Where would she factor in this, do you reckon?
I'm going to make people angry one way or another, because there's people that think she just beats up on Hartnell and aren't impressed by that, but then there's people that have actually seen her, as I have, in the flesh, and you can't fail to be impressed by her. I think she would be right there at the business end, and I would probably bet her in the race. Obviously depends on what the prices are, but I think she'd be right at the top end of the market, and I think she could definitely win a race like this. I don't see why she couldn't. She's got the class.
I would love to see her over here. I think they shelved Royal Ascot for this year, and they were always quite negative on it, but maybe next year.
Yeah, the talk is next year. They want to. There's only one horse that's ever won the Cox Plate 3 times, Kingston Town. So they want to go and get that, and they should, really, as long as she stays sound. There's no, at the moment there doesn't seem to be anything that's going to be able to beat her at Mooney Valley. I just worry that if they achieve that, they might just sort of think that'll
job
do.
is done. Yeah.
Yeah. But I hope they don't. I hope they do maybe go to Hong Kong and then come through to here. It would be fantastic, and there's no reason she wouldn't be running in a race like this if Royal Ascot went well. We saw Criterion came a few years ago, ran at Royal Ascot, and ran in this race, didn't make an impression in either, but she is a hell of a lot better than Criterion.
Yeah, okay, well, that's about it for the Juddmonte International. We'll move on to the Betway Great Voltigeur now. Obviously, well-known St Leger trial. We've got Cracksman in there who, in all likelihood, this is going to be his last run of the season. Might not be, and then he's going to be put away. Mirage Dancer, Venice Beach, we've got in there as well. Binners, how do we bet? Cracksman warm enough?
Yes, even money favourite. Paddy has an extremely generous money back special in this race, considering his evens. It's money back if your horse is 2nd, 3rd or 4th to the SP favourite as a free bet. And then we go 5 Mirage Dancer, 6 Venice Beach, 10 Khalidi and Douglas MacArthur, and 12 to 1 Bar.
Okay, thank you very much. Me and Tom were chatting beforehand. I said I can't believe the price of Khalidi. I really like him. Tom, what do you reckon?
I think Cracksman has the best form, but he's just a funny horse, isn't he? He's a Frankel that takes ages to get going. I think quite a few of them prefer softer ground. If it rained, I think that would help him. Look, he's got the best form, and he's getting better. Every single run's been a progressive run. He probably should have won the Irish Derby. He was a bit unlucky there. He's got the best form. Mirage Dancer hasn't. Simple as that. He ran okay at Ascot, but he's stepping up in trip. He seemed to be comfortably beaten to me by Ben Battle and Order of the Garter that day. I didn't see any excuses at all for him. I think he's got to step on it. Venice Beach is a good horse and a strong stayer. I think they'll set the race. So this is a race I do think they'll go fast in, because I think they'll want to set it up for Venice Beach and Spanish Steps, and they've got the Douglas MacArthur card to play from the front, you see, so they could dictate. This is a race they will dictate. They've got 3 of the 7 runners. Count Octave's quite an interesting horse. He was 2nd to Stradivarius in the Queen's Vase, and he travelled through the race, I thought, like the best horse. Just maybe got outstayed, but he's only had 4 runs. He's another Frankel. He will like fast ground. He's one of the few Frankels that they actually say loves fast ground, so he wouldn't want it to rain very much. He ran fine in the Chester Vase on his comeback. I think he's probably quite interesting, and as you said, Khalidi's probably got the 2nd best form in the race, and Spanish Steps is an interesting horse. Beat the older horses last time. I think it's wide open. I wouldn't be backing Cracksman at even money in any stretch of imagination.
Okay, Binners, what price can we get on the horses that Tom just mentioned? Venice Beach, I think.
Venice Beach is a 6 to 1 poke.
And
Maddie.
Khalidi?
10 to 1 together with Douglas MacArthur.
Thank you very much. What do you reckon, Mark? Is it Cracksman, do you think? Is it as simple as he's got the form and he should win?
Yeah, it is Cracksman for me. I think recent years the class horse tends to win this race, I think, and I really like the angle because he had a busy enough early part of the season. I like the fact he's been given a break. And I think this is a really nice stepping stone for him into, if not many targets in going into the autumn, into a 4-year-old career.
I know John Gosden's very keen to have him back next year. Yeah. So. Okay, nice and simple. Yep. We'll move on to the Acomb Stakes then. James Garfield probably sets the standard there. DXB, he got some absolutely raving reviews after winning at Goodwood. Beatbox Rhythm is in there for Carl Burke, who obviously had such a fantastic weekend, winning the pre-morning and having the second as well. And also Aidan O'Brien's got Fleet Review in there, I believe. Binners, to you first with the market, please, and what do you make of this one?
Well, we've got the same money-back special I just mentioned on this race as well, the Acomb, Maddie. We go 9-4 DXB, 11-4 Fleet Review, 8-1 James Garfield, and 4 horses on 10-1, so quite an open heat.
Okay, and is there anyone that you're looking at there and thinking, I think he's the one for me, or? I
quite like the look of James Garfield, Maddie. If you take away Expert Eye at Goodwood, who looks to be one of the most exciting 2-year-olds we've seen this season, there was only about 3/4 of a length between the second to fourth in that race. James Garfield got run out of third on the line, and Frankie Dettori looks a very eye-catching booking.
Okay, nicely summed up for us there. Tom, is this all a bit of a muchness for you? Were you the one who loved DXB after Goodwood?
I didn't love him. No? I thought he was pretty good. The time was very good. Look, people have told me he's exceptionally good, and look, I have no problem with him being a very good horse. I think there's plenty of others in there. I like Lansky myself. I think.
What can you tell us about him?
Well, he's a Dark Angel horse for Jeremy Nacida, whose 2-year-olds have gone well this season. He had the unlucky horse that was first home on its side at Royal Ascot. Can't remember the name of it.
Take Me With You?
Yeah, whatever it was.
Like that, and
I think this is quite a nice one. He's got a good record at York, Jeremy Nacida. He only runs his... he won Nemeralia won there last year. He's always had a good record at the track. I think he's a pretty nice horse. The issue with him is he's drawn in trap 11 on the outside, which I think could be an issue, because DXB, who I presume is going to make the runnings in trap 1. So I think they might get away with him. The other one at a big price is Richard Fahey's horse, Chief Justice, who ran behind Beatbox Rhythm at Pontefract on his debut, but he was noticeably green. He was round the outside. He started really slowly, but kept on nicely. I think he might return those placings with Beatbox Rhythm, and he could gun well. But I'm not a massive fan of DXB, but from stall 1, and if the ground's quick, I think he might be hard to get past.
Okay, Mark, you in agreement with Tom?
No, I am a big DXB fan. I'm in that fan club. I just loved him at Goodwood. Loved the way he moved, the relentless nature of his gallop. I thought was really, really taking.
He's got some I was reading the quotes on him beforehand. He apparently is an absolute real knockout to look at.
Oh yeah, well he looked. I mean, unfortunately I wasn't there in the flesh at Goodwood, but he certainly looked the part on the television pictures. And I like some of the quotes around him. Mark Johnson at the time saying, we wouldn't have brought him here if he wasn't working very well, if we didn't think he was good, to Goodwood. And I noticed his assistant Jock Bennett was on Racing UK. I think it was yesterday. Again, just seeming really, really confident, saying, I think he's going to run very well. So I certainly hope he does. I'll probably be backing him. And I couldn't be more in his camp really.
Okay, that's nicely summed up for us there. Has anyone got any other tips for York on Wednesday, or are we all still sort of eyes focused on the big Juddmonte International? You, Mark, first?
There was a horse called Tangled who won a nursery at Newmarket recently.
Yes. Yeah.
I was quite taken with, and is entered in the nursery on Wednesday. I didn't actually check before we came on, stupidly, to see if he's been declared, but if he has been declared, then he would be of interest.
Okay, Tangled for Mark. Tom, anything at all for you, or are you keeping your powder dry?
No, nothing for me at this stage, Maddie, no.
No? Okay.
No, too complicated looking at the other races to find these handicap winners at this stage.
We'll ask you nearer the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, it's competition time now. Here is your chance to win a free £25 or €25 bet with Paddy Power. All you have to do is answer this question. Who won last year's Juddmonte International? Tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast, and we'll announce the winner on Friday's show.
Paddy Power are offering money back as a free bet if the horse you back finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th to the SP favourite in 2 races today and every day this month. Max £25 per race. T&Cs apply. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Okay, welcome back to the Monday Postcast. I'm joined by Tom Siegel, Mark Scully and Paul Binfield. And now, hopefully, we're going to get Tom's blood going a little bit. It's the same old story as usual. We're going to talk about Enable because she's looking to go in the Yorkshire Oaks. We've also got Neswa in there as well, alongside Queen's Trust, Coronet Journey. Now, Binners, we'll go to you first and get the betting, but I think there's been a fair old move on Roger Varian's filly, hasn't there?
Yeah, and the Super Filly Enable 2-7 favourite, Maddie. Then Queen's Trust 13-2, Neswa 7-1, very well backed on Sunday. Has been as big as 12-1 in the market previously, and then we go 14-1 Journey and Coronet, and it's 16 bar.
Okay, Tom, penalty kick for Enable. I know we've seen horses like Tugruda be beating this, although I think she might have been in season was the excuse they used when Tapestry beat her. Or do you think you'll be looking elsewhere in the market for something?
Never a penalty kick at York, Maddie. Never, ever, ever is there a penalty kick at York, in my opinion. It's very, very much, for me, it's a horses for courses track. If there's rain, the ground gets a bit shifty. Anything can happen, as we saw with Tugruda. I love Enable, as we all know. I think she's by 5 minutes better than the horses she's running against. But 2-7, it's just not. No one's going to hit. No one's going to come on here and say that's a brilliant price. You have to have a lot of money to be betting horses at 2-7 at York, in my opinion. I like Neswa. She was really good in the Pretty Polly. I like Queen's Trust too. I think they're both very strong each way plays in the race. The ground was all wrong for Queen's Trust at Goodwood. Had to throw out race. But if you go back to the Prince of Wales Stakes, if anything,
she got messed around a bit there as
you'd
well.
say that she was unlucky not to win that race. And there was Ulysses, Decorated Knight, Highland Reel, good horses, Mektal in there. You would, she sort of got lost in the. But if you go back and stick your videos on and have a look at that one, she should perhaps have won that race. Everything that possibly could go wrong did. It was at Ascot where nothing was coming from behind all week. Nothing. It was really hard to come from behind. She came from last, and she must have made up 3 or 4 lengths on some really good horses. So, I don't think she can beat Enable, but I think she can. She's a cracking each way bet if there's 8 runners at 7-1.
Okay, so you'd have her over Neswa, would you?
I think so. I think come the day, obviously it depends on the price. Come the day, I expect Neswa to be a little bit shorter than Queen's Trust. She's got lots of 1s by her name, and Queen's Trust has got 4s and 6s by her name. So tends to be the way people go. But for me, I think Queen's Trust is a pretty good filly on fast ground, and I think the 1.5 miles will suit her well.
Do you think the 1.5 miles will be a problem for Neswa? Obviously, she's not really gone this trip before. She was very strong in the end of the Pretty Polly. No problem, no?
No, that'll suit her too, I would have thought.
Okay, Mark, what about you? What do you
I
reckon?
don't disagree with much of that. We're into sort of the realm now where we have to relish every chance we get to see Enable, really, because she obviously isn't going to be around forever. Might be only a handful more times we actually even see her, so we should just look forward to it and relish it. But I think what's refreshing is people aren't dodging one filly in this case.
Yeah.
You see people sometimes these races they scare everyone off, and it's sort of one horse versus a bunch of horses that are never going to see which way she went. But actually, if she's not at her bringing her A game, if there are any chinks in her armour this week, then there are fillies in this race, as Tom has perfectly summed up, that can certainly give her a fright. But I'm as big a fan of Enable as Tom is, and I think we just need to enjoy every chance we get to see her now.
Okay, what do you reckon of Journey? Because she was super impressive at Ascot last year. She never tends to come to herself until this sort of time of year. She's obviously really, really talented, but she just hasn't quite put it together yet. Do you think she could be one now it's getting, later on in the day that could challenge her, or do you just think Enable's far and away the best?
Look, she was 15-8 favourite, wasn't she, to beat Neswa last time? She was 5th in the Coronation Cup to Highland Reel. She's clearly talented, but it's hard to back her on the back of that last run. She was dreadful.
Okay, Paul, what do you make of it?
Well, I actually do think Journey's interesting if she runs, Maddie.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah, no, as Tom said, it was a good run in the Coronation Cup. Ran no sort of race in Ireland. I'm willing to forgive her that because it was over 10 furlongs. I think she's much better at this 1.5 miles, and if she runs at the moment 14-1, be shorter on the day with a few defections, but I think she's good each way value if she actually lines up.
Yes, I'm glad someone agrees with me for once. That horse, I've lost far too much money on her. We'll go to the Lowther now, which is a really, really interesting race. Wesley Ward leaves Happy Like a Fool over here, who is facing 6 furlongs for the first time. We've got the Rose Bowl winner Madeline in there. Aidan O'Brien's got a few among them. Actress and Butterscotch, I think, maybe. Paul, you first. How do they bet?
Yeah, 9-4 Wesley Ward's filly, Happy Like a Fool. 5-2 Madeline, 4 Fredding, 7 Butterscotch, 8 Special Purpose, 10-1 Actress, who I like a natural same price 10-1.
Okay, Mark, we'll go to you first. Kick us off.
I like Threading.
She's been supplemented for this.
Yeah, and much the same, not sort of from a analysis of the race point of view, much the same logic as DXB, really. You know, they were both very, very impressive at Goodwood for Mark Johnston, and if memory serves, on breeding, she really didn't have a lot of right to win on the ground that week, and she still did very, very impressively, I thought, and so I will be taking a chance that she can build on that. She's obviously given away quite a bit of experience to some of these, but she's obviously very highly thought of to be taken down to Goodwood in the first place, and I'm going to give her a chance.
Okay, nicely done. Tom, what about you? Can't be having Happy Like a Fool at York on 6 over on that ground, no?
Well, there's going to be, you know, of course she can win. She's got tremendous Ascot form. She's second to the Clive Cox horse. She's very good, and the same with Madeline. Looked good the other day, didn't she, at Ascot? There's just nothing wrong with those horses at all. It's a price thing, isn't it? It's a hard race. It's going to be a draw advantage. There nearly always is at York on the straight track. And, you know, do I want to be betting at 5-2, 3-1? No, I don't. I like Actress in terms of form. I think she's probably got the best form. She was third to the Sioux Nation and Beckford, only beaten 2 lengths in a Group 1 last time. I think that's probably the best form. I think in terms of price, she's probably the one for me. I'd also throw in there, I mean, this is just a bit of a guess, really, but a horse called Hence, Aidan O'Brien trains. He's about 40-50 to 1. I noticed the other day the declarations came out for the Dewhurst, and that is probably traditionally the best 2-year-old race of the season. And he entered 4 fillies, including Clemmy, Happily, September. The other one he entered was Hence. Didn't enter Actress, didn't enter Butterscotch. The filly he entered of these ones in the Dewhurst was Hence. Now, she's been beaten twice already this season. She was beaten on the all-weather last time. So my guess is she's not going to run. But the boys at Ballydoyle have obviously seen something in Hence to warrant her being entered in the Dewhurst, which makes that an interesting filly to follow for the future. Whether she runs here, I don't know.
Okay, well, I think that leaves me, you, and Paul in agreement that we all like Actress. Anything to add on her, Binners? Was it her that you fancied?
Yeah, just really, really impressed. Finishing third to the stable companion Sioux Nation in the Phoenix. I don't think Aidan would run a filly against the Colts unless he thought she was really good, and clearly she is finishing third there. And I agree with Tom. At 10-1, she looks a very tasty each-way price.
Okay, Mark, any other Thursday tips? You seem to be the one who's done the most homework this week. So.
Well, William Haggis obviously has a brilliant record.
See, I knew I could rely on you. Won't be able to rely on Tom when it
goes.
Definitely won't be.
He won the opening conditions race on Thursday 3 times in a row prior to last year, most recently with Tasleith. Special Purpose is unbeaten and is in there this time around, so it could be worth noting. Thought that was, just worth pointing out.
Very, very worth it indeed. Binners, any Thursday tips, any massive movers on Thursday?
Well, in the Clipper Logistics handicap at 3 o'clock, Maddie, a horse called Bravery for David O'Meara. I think this one's back down to a winning mark. He's of 99. I think he's won off 100 before. And back to a mile, I think he's interesting at a nice price of 16-1.
Okay, we'll just take a short break now before we cover the Nunthorpe Stakes.
Paddy Power are offering money back as a free bet if the horse you back finishes 2nd, 3rd or 4th to the SP favourite in 2 races today and every day this month. Max £25 per race. T&C supply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Okay, so this one looks a real cracker. We've got Lady Aurelia, who won the King's Stand in emphatic fashion, taking on Batash, who I absolutely loved at Goodwood. I thought he was awesome. Tom, I know that you're, again, having reservations about Lady Aurelia at York, but you don't want Batash either, do you?
Well, it sounds like I don't like either of them. I love both of them. I just think that, but my job is to find a horse to bet on, and I don't bet at short prices at York. I never have done and I never will, because I just think we've been through this race time and time again. We've had 100-1 winners of this race. We had a horse that none of you have probably ever heard of, Jawala, win this race at 50-1. We've had lots and lots of surprises. Now, let's be honest, they weren't taking on horses of the calibre of Lady Aurelia and Batash. And, to sit here and say, I'm expecting neither of them to win is ridiculous, because they can run faster than the other ones. But it's just a betting thing for me, and I wouldn't back either of them. I mean, first of all, I don't know which one's going to win, so why would I back one at 5-4 or 13-8? I'd prefer to look at something each way to run in the frame. You never know. There can be upsets at York. I think there's a few in there. I think Marsha's better than she's shown. I think York might suit her. I think there's a couple that have course form.
You mentioned Marsha. Sorry, just to interrupt. I was having a look at this race the other day, and fillies and mares have an absolutely fantastic recent record. You mentioned Juala. We had Hortensia. The mare came over to win it.
Yeah, Margot was a massive prize,
Mecca's
wasn't she?
Angel.
Mecca's Angel, you're right.
So Marsha could be one.
Yeah, 5 of the last 6 are mares. She could easily be the one. I think, there's those handicappers that run well at the track. Duke of Firenze, Final Venture. Now, they haven't got the form, but they like York. And, if you look at the figures, those sort of horses aren't miles behind. They're 10 or so pounds behind the top ones. But this is York we're talking about, and they're 5-4 and 13-8. I'd prefer to have a look at something at a big price.
Was it? It was Duke of Firenze you liked, wasn't it? About 100 to 1.
I just thought he's a York specialist. Didn't run very well last time in the Stewards Cup, but he loves York. He's from the David Griffiths yard that's had Take Cover run well, been placed in this race. Now look, Take Cover might be better than him, but I just thought he's a finisher that might sort of be kept out of the fire and sort of grab a place late on, sort of sneak a place. So that's the sort of horse I'll be looking at. But I'm fully expecting one of the favourites to win. It's just I don't know which one and the short prices.
No, but we like these angles. We like the bigger prices. Binners, how do we bet?
Well, it's 6-4 Lady Aurelia, 7-4 Batash. Is it a 2-horse race, Maddie? Then it's 8-1 Marsha, 12 Profitable, Take Cover and Washington DC on 16s.
Okay, and what price have you got Duke of Firenze at?
66-1 for Tom Segel.
Probably won't be for Tom Segel.
There we go. Mark, what do you reckon?
Tom's been peeking at my notes.
Uh-oh.
Just to verify, there it is from yesterday. Duke of Firenze. It's a coin toss for me between the first two. I mean, if you put a gun to my head and made me pick one or the other, I'd probably go for Lady Aurelia. But I was at Sandown to see Batash and last time the other time and was equally blown away by what he was able to do. So one of them could win, and it would be great if one of them could put in a really good performance. It'd be lovely if they both ran their race and we got a real treat like that. But Duke of Firenze, I just thought there are probably some of the more the classier, if you like, horses that are going to race against Lady Aurelia and Batash, whereas Duke of Firenze will probably just do his own thing and come through as he does and perhaps pick up some pieces. Just before I come on, actually, I've spoken to, I'm writing a piece for the paper tomorrow, but spoke to David Griffiths.
Shameless plug there.
And he did nothing to put me off. He said, obviously, it's a massive step up in class, and if he finished in the first 6, they'd be thrilled. But, he said he thinks he's capable of running a very big race, and he's a horse that's done me a few favours in the past, so I'm happy to give him another go.
Why not? Yeah, I think this has been the plan for quite a while.
Yeah, well, he won at York, and then he went up to 109, I think, after the dash. I think he went up around there, and so you get to a point where you've got to find something. But he won at York earlier in the season. He sort of said straight away, well, you might as well have a shot, because why not? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's great. That's just what we need.
Maddie, if you go back to, when was it? To May last year, he beat Brando. He beat Brando over the course and distance on fast ground in a good time. His last 3 runs here have been win, second win. He got beat by Boom the Groom. 5.5 furlongs that was, and he came to win the race and just got re-collared on the line. He should be literally unbeaten at York the last 3 runs. And, it's very much a horses for courses track, York, in my opinion, and at least you know what you're going to get. At least you know he's going to run his race.
I love this. I love the big priced angles we're getting this week. They're all going to be absolutely slashed in the market after this. Quick mention now of the Lonsdale Cup, the long distance race on the Friday. We have Dartmouth there, Thomas Hobson, who nearly did the Royal Ascot double, Dow Herald and UAE King, who I quite like. Binners, how do we bet on this quickly?
5-2 Dartmouth, 7-2 Thomas Hobson, 5-1 Dow Herald and St Michel, 11-2 Bar. Okay,
Mark.
Putting the Australian hat from earlier back on again. Saint Michel is, I believe, under serious consideration for the Melbourne Cup. This was a race that Max Dynamite won and went over and finished second at Flemington in 2015. We're getting to the point now where if horses are going to be going to Australia, only a few weeks away from looking at them going into quarantine in Newmarket. So if connections are seriously thinking about Flemington, then they would presumably be hoping for a very big run here to sort of confirm that the Melbourne Cup is a realistic target, and to go into quarantine with a nice performance under your belt as well. So yeah, I'd be taking a chance on San Michel.
He's got the class, hasn't he? Was it the Cesarewitch last season where he just travelled like an absolute demon? Yeah. I like that angle. Yep. Tom, anything for you in this?
Similar angle, different horse, Thomas Hobson. I think he's definitely going to. That's the plan all season, has been to get him to Melbourne. I thought he was ridiculously impressive at Ascot. He is the same as Max Dynamite, same owners, same trainer. I don't know who's riding him yet, but I thought he was the type of horse. He's 5-2. I think that's pretty short. The 3-year-old down the bottom's got to be taken really seriously, though. UAE King. I thought he was really good at Ascot. He looked like he might just win a furlong out, and then he won by 5 lengths. You know what I mean? And I just thought he's a really strong stayer that's getting better all the time. We saw Roger Varen's very good with these stayers. We saw Defoe on Saturday. 3-year-olds, they get an awful lot of weight. I'd certainly be considering him. But once again, as you say, this is a really good race. You've got Dartmouth in there. He's only giving £3, and I think the step up and triple suit him. Dal Harald was 6th in that in the race at Ascot, wasn't he? The Hardwick. I think it's a really, really good race. I personally just slightly prefer UAE King down the bottom, but I think I think if this is as good a staying race as there has been, including the Ascot Gold Cup.
Nice. I'm well chuffed. You agree with me. That UAE King, obviously superbly bred. I don't think they would have been expecting him to run in this Lonsdale Cup, being a Frankel half-brother to Dubawi, but there we are. That's how it works. We'll move on to the Sky Bet City of York Stakes. Quick mention, we've got all sorts in there at the minute, I think. We've got Soudois, Daban, Gifted Master, Second Thought, and the Britannia winner, Bless Him. Binners, I believe you've got some betting on this for us?
Yep, Soudois is 6-1 favourite, Daban 13-2 for John Gosden, 7 Gifted Master, 8 Second Thought, 10 Bless Him and Mitchum Swagger, and a few others on 10 as well.
Okay, what do you reckon, Mark?
I'm going to be a bit annoying here. I really couldn't force myself to have a view on this. I the betting sort of reflects that there isn't really.
Tom does it all the time.
I've made a living out of it.
If I was going on, I mean, Gifted Master is a horse I've liked for I've mentioned earlier someone doing a few favours for me, Duke of Frenzy. Gifted Master won with a couple of times, so maybe him, but I really couldn't bring myself to have a strong view on this race, unfortunately. Sorry for that.
So sentimental bet there, maybe, if anything, from Mark. Tom, anything for you? It looks wide open, doesn't it?
Funnily enough, Maddie, now that Mark's told us that, I'm funnily enough have just found one that I think is really good. No, honestly, I had a look at this race before we came on because it was the one race I didn't know much about. And I spent a good few hours looking at it this morning, and I thought David O'Meara had a very good chance, but not with Soudois or whatever it's called, with a horse called So Beloved, who was second in the race last year. If you watch the Lennox Stakes again, and I know everyone listening will go back and watch it now if they can, he was desperately unlucky not to win that race. Bretton Rock won it, and I know it was a funny race, but he was the one who got stuck on the inside, never got going until far too late, and was only beaten a length and a half. I think he'll beat Soudois this time. I think he loves York. He was, as I say, second in the race last time. And the time before at the Curragh, when he was second to Spirit of Valor, it was so slowly running. He was sat out the back. I just think this is his race, and I think he's going to run a massive race. I think Paul, he was 12-14-1. Did you say there? I think he's a really good each way bet.
14-1, Tom.
There we go. Really good each way bet, So Beloved, provided he gets a decent draw.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to quickly drop in another Twitter Q&A question. I was speaking to Nick Goff last night, Tom, and he says, "Why don't you join Twitter? I've got a good idea of what you've got to say." Me and Mark are both on Twitter.
Jesus, I get enough abuse as it is without going on Twitter.
Is that it? Is it? Can we persuade you? Get Tom on Twitter.
You certainly cannot. I would be the first to beat your head if you put me on Twitter.
Why is it? Do you think mainly just because the abuse you'd get, or social media can be great?
Of course it can. There's loads of good things. There's loads of bad things. It's just not my thing. I quite like sticking clear. I read it from time to time, but I'm pretty happy walking my dog without thinking about what Eric from Scunthorpe thinks of me. Thank you very much.
Right, there you go, Nick. There's your answer on why Tom doesn't join Twitter. Right. I'm going to ask another one, actually. Another quick question. Before we go on to the weekend eye catchers and anything we fancied, Do we think Arrogate will ever win a race again? Mark, international guru.
Hardly. No. Yeah, I think he can. Of course he can. I think we fall into this trap of having to be absolutely declarative about, when he was winning, is he as good as Frankel?
He's the best horse in the world.
And now it's like,
yeah,
can he win a race again? I mean, obviously the previous start, that was a lamentable performance, but the one this weekend was much more of a step in the right direction, and there's no reason, that he couldn't come on from that and step forward going into the Breeders' Cup and win there. No reason that I can see.
And the horse that won, is it called Collected? Am I right? Something like that. I'm not sure, but I think he had a good reputation
at that course as well. Yeah. Good form at the course. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe people are being a bit harsh on Arrogate. Right, Friday tips for York. Sorry, we'll go back to that.
They lean on the Haggis angle again. He won the Maiden, which is at 4:45 on Friday this year. He won that with Rivet. He has a horse called Nicklaus in it this year, who did absolutely nothing on debut at Newmarket, finished 6th of 6.
I know who you're talking about.
But was I'm not going to say he smashed off the boards or anything like that, but there was money around for him. He was relatively well supported, and it wasn't the worst. All right, he's finished 6th of the 6th, but it wasn't a terrible performance. There's no reason he couldn't step on from it. And as I say, he put Rivers in this, so he's obviously doing something to impress if he's going with him in it. So that caught my eye.
Like I said, I've heard of him, so I think he must have had a bit of a reputation of some sorts for me to have heard of him. Tom, Friday tips?
I like So Beloved. I really do. I think he's probably one of the better bets of the meeting.
Okay, nice positive word there. Binners, anything on Friday for you?
In the 155, the first race special handicap, I quite like Eric the Red. I love the way he won at Doncaster over 10 furlongs earlier in the month. I was impressed, and I think he's just as good over this 1.5 miles, Maddie.
Okay, thank you very much. Very, very quickly, Saturday and Sunday winners impressing you most. Mark, did you get anything for us?
Yeah, I was at Newmarket reporting on Saturday, and there were a couple of winners I quite liked. There was a horse called Shababi, finished 3rd on debut behind Nialetti in June at Salisbury. The second was also one from that race. The name is gone. Should have written it down here.
It's fine.
But come out and won really nicely on Saturday, and I interviewed Dane O'Neill after the race, and I think he was the sense I got was they were actually quite pleasantly surprised. I think they worked nicely at home, but had sort of only ever done enough, so they weren't really expecting anything all that flash, and he came out and won well on ground that probably won't actually prove to be the type of ground that they want for him. And Danehill Kodiak came back and won really nicely. He's been off for over 300 days after having a setback at the end of last year. Some of the owners involved are people who have jumps horses as well, like some Rendezvous, and so they were potentially talking about him going jumping. And I wondered the other day whether he'd maybe caught wind of that, because he's still an entire colt, and if he was going to go jumping, there'd obviously have to be a procedure he would have undergone. But he subsequently went and bolted up with the threat of that. So,
he knows the game.
Yeah, he's actually he's in the e-ball betting actually. So he's lurking around there. He could be one to keep an eye on. But he looks to have taken great physical improvement from 3 to 4, and he can probably win a nice race at some stage.
Yeah, he was really impressive the other day. Like him. Tom, should I know better than to ask you anything really catch your eye on Saturday?
You're trying to get me in the trouble. It was my week off last week, Maddie, so I didn't watch that much racing, but I did see my friend Jermaine Defoe win at without trying to sound like one of those after-timers, I do have a nice anti-post voucher on him for the St. Leger, so it was nice to see him win. I think he's got a massive chance. I thought it was really interesting. We do that jury in the paper on Monday, and Andrea Azzini was asked whether he thought Defoe could win, and he seemed, just reading between the lines, he dismissed Stradivarius pretty quickly out of hand, saying he didn't fancy him, but he thought Crystal Ocean was a big danger. To me, that's exactly how I read it. I think, obviously, Capri's in there, but I thought Defoe was really impressive. I thought he won with loads in hand. And if you watch the line again, there's absolutely no way he's not going to stay the trip. He's going to relish it. So I think I think he was 7 or 8 to 1 still after the race. I don't know what he is now, but I think that's still a good bet. And
11 to 2 now, Tom.
How much?
11 to 2.
Oh, was it back this morning, Paul?
I'm not sure, but 11 to 2 is the price.
Okay, and then yesterday at the Curragh, that Fillies race I think was a good one. I thought Magical sort of got the run of the race from the front, but I like Happily. I think she's going to be a totally different filly on fast ground. I think she just seemed to be spinning on the. I don't think Ryan Moore ever picked up his whip hardly, and she actually finished second. I think she's a totally different horse on fast ground to what we saw yesterday. So I'm a happily fan, and I'm just cannot wait. I think the Ledger's going to be better than the best classic we've had this season. I think it's fascinating. I don't know what you lot think. Normally we sit here thinking about the Ledger being boring, but we've got a fascinating race this year, and it's going to be better than the Derby, that's for sure.
Well, we can't get started on that because we're about running out of time. Binners, quickly, Saturday, Sunday winners impressed you?
Well, Paddy's representative at Newmarket was really on the ball. David Cleary of Racing UK asked me if Danehill Kodiak was still in the Ebor, and I had no idea, but I had a look, 20 to 1, and I was talking with Mark about it. The horse had it won 2 furlongs out. If he doesn't go for the Ebor, I think he will win a big race this season.
Okay, nice confidence there about Danehill Kodiak. I think that's about it. I mean, we've managed to cover York pretty comprehensively. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And remember to join us on Friday when the team will be previewing the Ebor Day at York. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe. And it's goodbye from us lot.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus. Available to use online, at ATMs or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.